Howdy y'all, welcome back to another episode of the Dusty Old Deck Trail, and today I've got another standard deck for you. It's a mono white enchantment. I want to call it an aggro, but it might be more of a mid-range deck. Most of the creatures go pretty tall instead of going wide. So it actually might be one of my favorite decks that I built for standard play. It's pretty powerful. And so I played with it in the last championship, but unfortunately I only got third place with it, which is actually still pretty good for a mono-colored standard deck. And in this championship, literally every single top tier deck was in this championship. So in first place in this tournament, number 1 was the Dimir Demon Control deck, so a very powerful deck. Number 2 was Boros Mice, of course. Number 3 was me with the mono white enchantment deck. And number 4 was actually the Domain deck, the Zur Domain deck, which I think he just had some bad hands. Honestly, that deck probably could have came in second or first place pretty easily. And then also, I think number 5 or number 6 was Esper Pixie. There's actually 2 players playing it, so they were definitely both top 10 playing the Esper Pixie. And there was like 2 more, there was at least 3 Dimir Demon Control decks in this tournament. There was 2 Boros Mice, there was a red aggro, there was a Gruul aggro. Like every single top tier deck you can imagine was in this tournament. So coming in third place against all these decks, not too bad, I'd say. So that was my experience with this deck, so let's take a look at it and see how I built it. So I've got the full physical copy here, but I actually put a digital copy up on Moxfield. So I'm not sponsored by Moxfield or anything, but I do like their services and their deck building and stuff. So I put a digital copy on Moxfield. I'll put the link in the description down below to that deck. So here's the actual deck. So, there's a Plains. I've got 2 Armored Armadillos in here. I think this card is super underrated. I'll talk about some other cards that I tried or put in here. So I've got 2 Armored Armadillos, 1 drop 0/4 ward 1. So he's really hard to remove. You cannot hit it with 3 damage and take it out, which is awesome. So he's just been super helpful. So I've got 2 of those in here. So we got 4 Optimistic Scavengers, of course. So whenever an enchantment enters or you unlock a room, you get 1 encounter on a creature. Definitely good for 1 drop. Then we have 4 Enduring Innocence in here. They're card draw, plus they're enchantments, and they're hard to get rid of unless you exile them. So they're a must-have for card draw. Awesome deck, or awesome card. Then I have 2 Overlords and the Mistmoors. I've only got 2 in here. You could put a third one or even a 4th one, but I wanted this deck to be more quick, more aggro-y, than to be actual more mid-rangey. So I'd only put 2 of them in here, but they're great for creatures, and he's an enchantment. So super awesome card. They're a must-have an enchantment deck. And I've also got 3 Virtues. So this is great. It gives you a Knight. But then if you can get the enchantment out, it gives them basically Vigilance with 1 encounter. So super awesome. It's kind of a must-have, but I've only got 3 copies because this is kind of expensive at 5 mana. But yeah, it's a must-have. Great card. So then I also have 4 copies of the Dollmaker Shop. So this card is definitely for aggro-y. So 2 mana, whenever you attack, you can put out a 1/1 white toy artifact. I don't really use Porcelain Gallery as much. I just mostly need it for the Dollmaker Shop. But I've only used this like once, and I was like pretty far into the game, but pretty much you just want it for the Dollmaker Shop. So I got 4 of those in here. Then we also have 4 of the Grand Entryways. So this is awesome because it actually gives you 2 enchantments. Because you play 2 and you place this enchantment, and then you pay, and then you get a Glimmer enchantment creature token. So it actually triggers. Where is he? So it actually triggers Optimistic Scavenger twice, which is pretty awesome. So this is definitely must have. And plus only 3 mana, and you could put a counter. So then you would fully unlock it, and you would actually put out 3 counters with Optimistic Scavenger. So this card is genius. It was built so well. It's a great card, and only a common. So yeah, we definitely have 4 of them in here. So it's great. It's a perfect card. So then of course we have 4 Ethereal Armors. Gives them a 1/1 for each enchantment you control plus First Strike. So that First Strike is devastating to some people because this thing is just all the time. It gave it like plus 5 damage and First Strike. So on something like an Optimistic Scavenger, plus the enchantment enters, even if it's just a 1/1, it would be a 7/7 with First Strike, and that's so hard to get rid of unless they have a really good removal spell in hand. So definitely need 4 of those. Same with Shelter by Ghost. This card is just insane. For 2 mana, it gets Ward 2, Lifelink, plus an additional damage, and you exile a non-land permanent. So 4 of them for sure. This is just fantastic enchantment. So then I also put in the old Angelic Destiny. I was pretty excited when this card came back. So I put in 4 of them. Gives them a 4/4 First Strike and flying. But whenever it dies, you get to return it to your owner's hand. So that's super helpful. So I only put 3 of them in here because for 4 mana, but it's such a powerful enchantment. It definitely has got to go in here. So then for removal, I've got 4 Elspeth's Smites. So this one's awesome because then it gets to exile the creature if it dies. So a great combat trick for only 1 mana. Definitely must have in this deck. So we got 4 Valgavost Layers. So this is a mono deck, but this is an enchantment land, so it gives you an additional enchantment for all of your stuff. So this triggers Optimistic Scavenger. This stacks with Ethereal Armor. It's so good. So definitely need to include 4 of them. But then you just choose white and it comes out. So then I've got 4 Cryptic Caves in here for kind of mid to late game card draw, because you don't need that much mana. The most expensive thing we have in here is technically the Overlord, the Mistmoors, but really it's the Virtue of Loyalty at 5 mana. So after you get 5 mana out, you don't really need too much more, so definitely you need a card draw. So this has been helpful. So then we have 14 basic planes. So pretty simple. Sorry, I'm showing off a little bit. So I've got 14 Duskmourn basic planes in here. So that's the full deck. Let's take a look at the sideboard real quick. You can kind of sideboard wherever you want, but I've basically just got control for other decks. So I've got 4 Ghost Vacuums, but you should include instead Rest in Peace, this card. So because it's an enchantment and does the same effect, I've just got Ghost Vacuum because this is all I have. Plus, this is universal for pretty much all the other decks. But Rest in Peace, definitely better than Ghost Vacuum, but yeah, so it's up to you. I've got 4 Ghost Vacuums though. So then we got 4 of the Wilt Leaf. This is perfect for discard. It's so good against Hopeless Nightmare. I can't even tell you how many times this has saved me against that stupid card. It's so powerful. If you don't know what Hopeless Nightmare is, here it is. It's a 1-drop enchantment that they have to discard a card and lose 2 life. So instead of discarding a card, you get to put this out for free. So very good card. This is definitely a must-have in the sideboard. So then I also have 3 Split Ups, and you could include a 4th, but I just put a Day of Judgment in here, just kind of a just in caseies. So definitely board removals. And then the last 3 we got Trapped in the Screen. So just straight up more removal, plus Ward 2, so great removal. This is a great enchantment. So that's all 15 cards, so let's take a look at the price breakdown of this deck. And overall, the price breakdown of this deck is actually not too bad. The most expensive cards, of course, being the Overlord and the Virtue, but the rest of these cards are fairly affordable. I mean, Shelter by Ghost is kind of expensive too, and your Dollmaker Shop, they're all just kind of mid-range cards, but this deck, for how powerful it is, I definitely recommend, if you want a good, solid deck that's easy to work with, build this deck. This deck is great. I love how it's monocolored too. So that's why I built it. I was like, I need a monocolored deck to play in Standard because everything else is colored. So I just really wanted a monocolored deck, so this is what I came up with. I do also have a monocolored blue deck, so you can probably easily tell what that deck is going to do, the mono blue deck. But we'll talk about that in a later episode, because I have not tried it at all. It's completely untested. I'm planning on testing it this weekend, but for now, I just haven't tested it, so I'll let you know how it goes in the next episode. So let's talk about this card, Armor Armadillo, and why I've had so much success with it. So it's a 1-drop, 0/4 with Ward 1, and we really want the 4 toughness. So in Standard right now, most of the removal damage spells are going to be up to 3 damage. You do have this card, Witchstalker's Frenzy. It's kind of the outlier at 5 damage. But the most popular ones I've seen is like this one, we use it, Elspeth's Smite for 3 damage. This one, Torch the Tower, if you bargain it, it can deal 3 damage. And this one, Nowhere to Run. It gives a creature a -3, -3. So these 3 removal spells themselves do not take out Armored Armadillo. In my experience, people do not want to waste 2 cards to remove a 1-drop creature. That is just, in a 60-card format, that's not good. Like, that's not a good trade. Now, whenever you enchant Armored Armadillo with any of these enchantments, these 3 big enchantments, it's a different story. You can waste 2 removal spells to get rid of it. But early on in the game, this creature dodges most of the damage removal spells. So the other card I considered is this one, Market Gnome, but it only has 3 toughness. So you're rewarded, you get a card and 1 life when it dies, but we do not want our creatures to die. We want it to stay out and keep the enchantments on it, because when it dies, you lose the enchantment. Well, with the exception of Angelic Destiny. But we just need a really good high toughness creature to put a really strong enchantment on. But most of the damage is going to come from the enchantment, so we just need a really tough creature to put it on. So our Armored Armadillo here, it just puts in a lot of work for only 1 mana. And some other 1-drop creatures that I've tried, but I just kind of run into the same problem. They just get blown up as soon as they come out. Is Healer's Hawk, the Slumbering Guard, Warden of the Inner Sky, and Season Worn Guard. All of these creatures that just kind of have the same issue. They are great bodies, like I would love to get an enchantment on them, but getting the enchantment on is the problem. They just get removed immediately, so And y'all should definitely let me know down in the comments, is there a better 1-drop white creature that would fit into this deck? I haven't really looked at like Tarkir or Dragonstorm too much. Maybe there's a new white creature that I just don't even know about. Or maybe there's just another creature that I've just totally overlooked and is better than Armored Armadillo, or that would fit into this style of deck better. So a couple other cards I did try was Feather of Flight, Shard Maze Rescue, and the Builder's Talent. So I tried all three of these and they're just kind of So I didn't really want to give up anything for any of these. They're just kind of... Shard Maze Rescue, maybe you could run in the sideboard. It would be good for that, but the problem with Feather of Flight and Shard Maze Rescue is that the other enchantments kind of do a better job than they do, and neither one of these protect from board wipes. So that's kind of what this deck is missing, is indestructibility. But whenever I'm playing a deck that I know it's running board wipes, or am suspicious that they're running board wipes, you definitely just have to hold back. Just put out 1 or 2 really, really large creatures, and if you get board wiped, you're only going to take out a couple of creatures, and then this deck is able to rebuild quickly. So you can just throw out like an Overlord, and then enchant one of those insects, and you're already back. So as long as you don't just wipe out your entire board, like this card could be a problem. I've actually never been hit by this card before, so it could be devastating, but it's just not something I've encountered yet. So another great enchantment that I've considered is this one, the Authority. It's great, but for this deck, because I wanted to go more aggro instead of mid-range or control-y, I just don't know what to replace with this card. It's great for life gain and stuff like that, but I'd rather just go more damage. So Shelter by Ghost just gave me that lifelink that I needed instead of the 1 life. And so this card, it is amazing against token decks, but in the main deck, it just doesn't really have a place. So you could definitely sideboard it. I think it could be a great sideboard option, but I just don't run it personally. So then I also wanted to try this card, A Tale for the Ages, but it kind of fills a role for the deck that's already been filled. It gives additional damage to something that's already enchanted, but I figured out in this deck that if you get all of your stuff removed or wiped out all the time, you don't have anything left to enchant. So this card in this deck, it doesn't pump out creatures, and I need more creatures. And so in my opinion, that's why something like the Dollmaker Shop or the Grand Entryway, both of these cards are better than A Tale for the Ages, because they both actually provide creatures that we can put enchantments on. And let's talk about one more card here as well, Parting Gust. So Parting Gust you could definitely replace for Elspeth's Smite, but I like Elspeth's Smite because it's only 1 mana over Parting Gust 2 mana. It's kind of a preference, whichever card you prefer, either Parting Gust or Elspeth's Smite. But there is one card that makes Parting Gust infinitely better than Elspeth's Smite, and it's this card, Screaming Nemesis. So Parting Gust is going to exile it, Elspeth's Smite's going to deal the damage before it exiles it, so it will trigger Screaming Nemesis. So if you're playing against a bunch of players that like Screaming Nemesis, definitely put in Parting Gust over Elspeth's Smite. That's my free advice to you. And so overall, this is my favorite standard deck that I have. It's powerful, it's pretty cheap to build, and it is monocolored. So that's what I really like about it, is that it's monocolored. You don't have to worry about splashing colors in or color fixation or any of that stuff. You just throw out your planes and you beat your opponent with a flying armadillo, which is pretty fun. So I definitely recommend you build this deck, 10 out of 10. And in that championship, we actually played 4 rounds, and so every tier 1 deck that I played, which was 4 decks, they all struggled against it, which is awesome. So I never got swept. I went 2-1, 3 games, and I swept somebody once. So this deck is pretty awesome. So I definitely recommend building it, and it's going to stick around for at least 2 more years, because I didn't use any of the older standard cards. So no Phyrexia or no Dominated United and all that stuff. So I didn't use any of those cards, specifically because I knew they were rotating out. In just a couple of months now, that's all we have left with them. But that's just the nature of standard. So that's all I got for y'all today. So y'all make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on the notifications button as well, so you don't miss the next pack cracking video, the next Dusty Deck Trail episode. We'll see y'all next time.